So when you check your wealth today, you probably, just look at a screen.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Usually just a banking app.
Right. You pull out your phone, you see these binary numbers, sterile spreadsheets, and it feels incredibly clean.
Like an engineering problem almost.
Exactly. It's like you look at the balance and you either have the capital or you don't. It's very black and white.
Yeah. And I mean, that digital vault provides a really profound sense of control.
Yeah.
We want our assets to be categorized, visible, neatly stored in a database because it gives us the feeling that we've totally mastered our environment.
It makes us feel safe.
Yeah.
But what if the ultimate ledger, like the original fully capitalized spreadsheet, isn't digital at all?
Right.
That is the disruptive premise at the heart of today's deep dive. We're looking at this amazing source material, an atmospheric dialogue called The Root of Abundance, Episode 1, The First Harvest.
Such a great title.
It really is. And it basically challenges you to walk outside, look at the dirt beneath your feet, and recognize the most sophisticated, high-yield economic engine in existence.
Which is wild, right? And the author actually establishes this tension right away through the cover art, the visual command provided for the cover art.
Oh, right, the visual instructions. Break that down a bit.
Yeah, so the instructions mandate an image featuring two figures standing in a high-tech garden.
A high-tech garden. That's such a contradiction.
Totally. We're forced to hold these two seemingly opposing ideas at once,
Yeah.
Like you have the ancient primal mechanics of agriculture.
Like a shovel turning the earth at sunrise.
Exactly. But it's clashing directly with this futuristic vision.
Right, so it's not just some nostalgia trip.
No, not at all. It signals that we aren't retreating to a romanticized pre-industrial past. We are being handed an entirely new operating system for how modern society should understand value.
And guiding us through this new operating system are two distinct voices from the text. We have Helios.
The vision.
Right, Helios is the visionary. And then there's the mad philosopher, who kind of acts as the guide.
Yeah, and their conversation completely dismantles our contemporary assumptions about nature, the concept of scarcity, and really the true utility of money.
But, okay, if the natural world is this ultimate ledger, how are we supposed to read it? I mean, when I walk past a forest or a farm, I just see leaves and branches.
You don't see a bank account?
No, I definitely don't see a bank account.
Well, the text frames this exact problem through a brilliant observation from the mad philosopher.
Okay, what does he say?
He points out that most people walk past an orchard and process it merely as scenery, they just see leaves.
Right.
But he observes that Helios looks at that exact same orchard and sees a ledger of abundance.
A ledger of abundance, I love that phrasing.
Yeah, Helios views nature as the first and greatest bank. He actually declares that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
The fullness thereof, that word fullness, it carries so much weight in this dialogue.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Helios insists that everything we could possibly want or need is already here. Like everything comes out of the garden.
And we really have to interrogate what that fullness actually means as an economic mechanism.
Right, it's not just poetry.
No, exactly. The mad philosopher notes that this fullness isn't some utopian promise for the distant future. It's the current, active, baseline state of reality right now.
Wow. Think about how violently that clashes with modern economic theory.
Oh, it upends it completely.
Because our entire global financial structure is built on the fundamental premise of scarcity.
Right, the assumption that there simply isn't enough to go around.
Yeah. And therefore, we must fiercely compete for these severely limited resources. We're conditioned to treat life like a massive game of musical chairs.
That's a great way to put it.
Perpetually terrified that the music is going to stop and we won't have a seat.
And Helios is effectively telling us, hey, the chairs are infinite.
Chairs are infinite.
Yeah, the game of musical chairs is an artificially induced panic. The living earth is a ledger that is already fully capitalized.
So the wealth isn't something humanity has to artificially invent out of thin air.
Exactly. It is the default state of the world. It's just waiting to be accessed.
Okay, but hold on. I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Telling my landlord that the earth is a ledger of abundance isn't going to pay my rent this month.
Right. They probably wouldn't accept some nice oak leaves.
Exactly.
Mm.
We live in a world where we absolutely rely on the numbers in that digital banking app to survive. We're conditioned to only recognize value if it has a corporate logo on it.
Yeah.
So how does Helios expect us to bridge that gap between, philosophical appreciation for trees and the very real demands of a modern economy.
Well, that friction you're feeling right now, that is the core tragedy Helios is addressing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have abstracted value so incredibly far away from its source that we no longer recognize the source when it is staring us right in the
I
face.
mean, that makes sense.
A modern citizen looks at a fiat currency note and sees unquestionable permanent value.
Right. It's money. It's real.
But then they look at a raw piece of fertile land and just see empty space.
Oh.
But Helios argues the opposite. He says the fiat currency is fragile. It's a human invention that's highly susceptible to inflation, manipulation, and, total collapse.
Whereas the biological cycle of the soil is
The only true, unbreakable economic engine.
we've completely lost the ability to read the natural ledger
Yeah.
because we've just been staring at the artificial one for centuries.
Exactly.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like looking at a massive open source code repository online.
Oh, that's an interesting analogy.
Like the code is sitting right there on the screen. It's completely free. And it is packed with the potential to build a billion-dollar software application.
Right, but
But if you refuse to learn the underlying programming language to compile it, if you don't engage with the mechanism of coding,
that infinite abundance is completely useless to you.
exactly, you're just staring at text.
And that analogy maps perfectly onto the next phase of the dialogue, because the mad philosopher asks the logical follow-up question.
Which is?
He says, if the world is currently in a state of fullness, why do people constantly complain of hunger while standing in the middle of a full field?
Standing in a full field and starving? What are they missing?
Well, Helios answers by pointing to the mechanics of what he calls the practical garden.
The practical garden, okay.
He says the starving people are missing the process. He explicitly maps out the cycle of value creation.
How does he define it?
He states that it begins from the earth, goes into the seed, then becomes the fruit, and finally reaches the man.
Earth to seed to fruit to man. Let's break down the economic mechanism of that specific cycle, because it seems like the blueprint for all wealth creation.
It really is, whether you're in agriculture or technology. So the earth represents raw potential.
Like latent market demand or untouched resources.
Exactly, the fully capitalized baseline we discussed earlier.
Got it. And the seed.
The seed represents human intention, specialized skill, and calculated risk.
So it's the catalyst you introduce to the raw potential.
Right. And then the fruit is the tangible result, the viable product, the service rendered, the problem solved.
And finally, the man is the beneficiary who consumes the value.
Exactly. But Helios lays down a brutal fundamental law for this high-tech garden.
What's the law?
If you don't plant, you don't eat.
Wow. If you don't plant, you don't eat. That completely removes the fantasy of getting something for nothing.
It forces ultimate accountability. According to this framework, the modern crisis isn't a lack of resources.
Because the field is completely full.
Right. The crisis is a devastating systemic disconnection from the process of cultivation.
We want to skip steps.
Modern society wants to jump straight from the earth to the man. We want to bypass the seed and the fruit entirely. We demand the harvest, but we despise the dirt.
We despise the dirt. Man, this applies so clearly to the modern knowledge worker.
Oh, 100%.
You see people wanting the fruit of a massive salary or a wildly successful startup, but they absolutely refuse to plant the seed of acquiring difficult skills or building a network or, risking failure.
They want the outcome without the mechanics.
Right. But I have to ask, are people actively, stubbornly refusing to participate in this process? Or is there something structurally preventing them from seeing the garden at all?
I think it's deeply structural. When society builds these incredibly complex financial and corporate systems, the express purpose of those structures is to abstract the process, right? To increase efficiency.
Yeah, we're taught hyper-specialization.
Exactly. You do your one narrow task in a cubicle or on a laptop, you receive a direct deposit, and you purchase your food prepackaged in plastic.
You are completely insulated from the earth, the seed, and the raw fruit.
And over multiple generations, that lack of practice hardens into literal blindness. We try to bypass the garden entirely using currency.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most radical conceptual pivot in this entire deep dive.
Yeah, this is the big one.
Because if the true unbreakable process of wealth is this earth to seed to fruit to man cycle, then what exactly is the cash sitting in our wallets?
Well, Helios reframes the entire global economy with a single phrase.
And what does he call it?
He argues that money is merely an entry card to the cycle of the garden.
An entry card.
Yeah. The mad philosopher embraces this immediately. He clarifies that currency is not the wealth itself.
It's simply the ticket that grants you access to what he calls the Lord's warehouse.
Exactly. We really have to separate wealth from currency to understand this.
So how do you define the difference?
In the paradigm Helios is building, wealth is the harvest. Wealth is the sustenance, the tangible value, the actual fullness of the earth that sustains human life and progress.
And currency. The paper bills, the digital balances, the stock tickers.
Currency is just the entry card. When a society confuses the entry card for the wealth itself, the entire cycle just completely breaks down.
The philosopher realizes that if you understand the soil, you understand the system.
Because the soil is the actual engine driving the value.
I am so obsessed with this entry card concept
Yeah.
because it perfectly describes how we interact with money.
It really does.
Think about an old-school video game arcade.
Oh, yeah.
You walk in off the street, and you hand over a $5 bill in exchange for a handful of plastic tokens.
Right.
Now, the token itself possesses zero intrinsic value. You can't eat it. It doesn't entertain you on its own.
No.
If you take that token outside the doors of the arcade, it is a completely worthless piece of plastic. Its solitary purpose, its only mechanism, is that it turns on the machine. It buys you access to the game.
That is a perfect analogy. The token is the fiat currency, and the game being played is the actual wealth creation.
Exactly. But apply that logic to how we live today. If money is just the entry ticket to the warehouse, just a plastic token for the arcade,
Yeah.
then our modern obsession with endlessly hoarding cash is completely irrational.
It really is.
It is the equivalent of a person walking into an arcade, buying 1,000,000 plastic tokens, stuffing them into their pockets, dragging them home to hoard in a basement, and refusing to ever actually walk up to a machine and play a game.
That is the precise diagnosis Helios is making of contemporary culture.
It's madness.
It is. And we have to ask why people hoard those arcade tickets.
Because of the artificial scarcity we discussed earlier.
Exactly. They operate from a mindset of profound lack. They believe the tokens are the rarest things in the universe, and they harbor this deep, unexamined fear that the arcade will permanently close tomorrow.
So they worship the ticket instead of playing the game.
They worship the ticket instead of playing the game.
That completely shifts the goal of financial independence, doesn't it?
It does. And Helios provides the antidote to this anxiety. He states, money grows and treats those who know how to garden.
Those who know how to garden.
Yeah. If you understand the fundamental mechanics of the arcade, if you know how to plant the seeds in the earth and shepherd them to fruit, you are never terrified of running out of tokens.
Because you become a master of the process itself.
Right. You know you can always generate more access because you command the engine of value.
If you master the process, you master the system. You stop staring at the digital spreadsheet, terrified of the numbers dropping, because you actually know how to cultivate the soil.
Exactly.
So practically speaking, how do we integrate this high-tech garden into our actual lives today?
While we look to the final, synthesized realization from the mad philosopher in our source text.
What does he conclude?
After absorbing Helios's breakdown of the natural ledger and the entry card, the philosopher says, then let us teach them how to dig. For if the earth is full, the only thing empty is the mind that refuses to plant.
Oh, wow. The only thing empty is the mind that refuses to plant.
Yeah.
That completely removes all the blame we usually place on external circumstances, on the economy, on the market.
It does. It places the responsibility for value creation squarely back on our own shoulders.
It demands agency.
Exactly. And this brings us full circle to the visual concept of the high-tech garden.
Right, the cover art.
This dialogue is not some primitive manifesto urging you to throw your smartphone in a river and go live off-grid.
Please don't do that.
Right. It is about integrating the undeniable ancient laws of value creation into a hyper-connected digital world.
So the mechanics of earth, seed, fruit, and man apply uniformly.
Yes. Whether you are physically planting crops, engineering artificial intelligence, building a local business, or, frankly, raising a family.
You cannot hack the system.
No, you have to respect the process of cultivation.
You have to engage with the mechanism, and you have to stop mistaking the leaves for the ledger.
Absolutely.
So for you, listening to this deep dive right now, we challenge you to audit your own practical garden.
Are you recognizing the baseline fullness of your environment?
Yeah. Are you identifying the latent potential in your industry, your community, your own skill sets? Or are you just staring at the superficial markers of success, convinced that the resources have already run dry?
Shifting that perspective requires active, daily friction against the conditioning of the modern world. You have to consciously choose to see the raw potential rather than the artificial scarcity.
Which leaves you with one final provocative question to carry with you today. We began by examining how cold and abstract our definition of wealth has become, reducing survival to binary numbers on a screen.
Right.
But if we accept Helios's paradigm, if the cash in your bank account is merely the entry card to a system of true organic abundance, what are the modern seeds you are aggressively hoarding right now instead of planting?
Mm.
And what kind of massive life-altering harvest are you denying yourself simply because you're treating the ticket to the game as the ultimate prize?